Hello everybody and welcome to our CISSP course 2018. Now we are in domain 5 IAM, Identity and Access Management, lesson 1, Fundamentals of Access Control. So we will continue today the part 2 of fundamental access or access control fundamentals. So before continuing, we will review our previous lesson. So we went to the definitions of access, subject and object. Then we went to access controls. Then the types of access controls. You should know the types of access controls. Then we went to the access control definition in details. Again, the definition of subject and object. We went to the principles, other principles, such as permissions, rights, privileges, and we differentiate between them with examples. Then we went to the roles: default deny, default allow. Now we will explain what is need to know, and I'm expressing it with why. Let's go to the definition. Need to know means that the subject should have a security clearance. The subject should have a security clearance, means here the user should have a security clearance, and business justifications or justification why you should have that security clearance, and business justification for being granted access. So if the subjects want to access, for example, a folder, okay, or any object, you should bring an evidence or a justification, business justification, and a security clearance. So security clearance alone is not enough to get this access. If he brings security clearance without business justification, his request may be or may denied. So let's take an example here, a real scenario. Ali raised a ticket to access some information inside the company. So Ali needs to access some information inside his company. Ali got the required clearance, security clearance. He got the security clearance to access the information, but he didn't provide business justification. There is no justification in his ticket or in his request. In this case, the change manager inside the company denied his request because he didn't provide the business justification. So we, inside our companies, we have to ask why. Why do you want this access? Okay. Now let's go to the other definition, which is least privilege. What access level? So the definition says that assigning subjects only the minimal rights and permissions needed to accomplish the task. So whenever there is a new user, we don't have to give him full permissions, as we see here. We don't have to give him full control. What we have to give him to accomplish his task, for example, if read is okay, then we can give him read. And if he needs another permissions, for example, modify or write, then he should apply this. Should provide a security clearance and business justification. So by default, we have to assign him minimum rights and permissions needed to accomplish the task or his task. For example, an organization has an application that is running under a service account. Service account is underlined. We'll go back to it on a web server. So the service account has a full administrative rights, and we can see this in most of the organizations that they give the service account a full administrative right to the server. Which principle of information security does this violate? Definitely, this scenario violates the least privilege principle, because an application should never require full administrative rights to run. No need for the server account to get a full administrative rights. The sysadmin inside the organization should update the service account to have only the privileges needed to support the application. And there is no need to give administrative rights to this account. Okay? The account may get compromised and may the hacker use it to access or compromise the other servers. Okay, let's go to the next principle, which is authorization creep, and is also called privilege creep. So the gradual accumulation of access rights, permissions, and privileges over time is known as authorization creep. I will give you an example here just to understand what is the meaning of authorization creep. Ali has been employed by his company for more than a decade and has held a number of positions in the company. Okay, he was a system administrator, then in the IT department, admin, then he went to finance department, and he got another rights. Okay, they didn't remove his sysadmin rights, so he went to finance and he got other rights, permission, and privileges. Okay, over time. This is the definition of authorization creep or privilege creep. During an audit, it is discovered that he accessed to a shared folders and application because of his former roles. For example, as a system, when he was a system admin. What issue has Ali's company encountered? This is authorization creep. This is the definition of this scenario, describes the definition of authorization creep. Okay. Now let's go to excessive creep or excessive privilege. The definition of this excessive privilege is when a user has more access, privilege or permission than assigned work task dictate. Okay, and it can be prevented by least privilege. Let's take an example to understand what is the meaning of excessive privilege. So the junior manager of finance department was granted access privileges to all files on company server, including employee performance details. Is having full access to all files. Okay, he's having more than he wants. Employee payroll details, client feedback reports. This is a situation that should be avoided and is termed as and is known as excessive privilege, because he has more access than he wants. Okay. Now let's go to separation of duties or segregation, and it's also known as segregation of duties. Separation or segregation. Let's go to the definition. The breaking down of a process, there is a process here, okay, into tasks. Process, task 1, task 2, task 3, okay, that are assigned to different subjects. These tasks are assigned to different subjects. User 1 is assigned for task 1, user 2 for the task 2, and user 3 for the tasks 3. Why we want to do this? So that no one is in complete control. No single user can fully control these tasks. Okay. This is the definition of separation of duties. Let's take the example one. One person opens envelope containing checks, bank checks, and another person record the checks in the accounting system. So the first one open the envelopes that contains checks, and the second person recording the checks inside the accounting system. Why they are doing this? To reduce the risk that checks will be removed from the company and deposited into person own checking account. If two tasks are given to the same person here, the first person here, then he can do this. He can deposit the checking account in his own account. Okay, this is the first example. Let's go to the second example. As Gary designs the program, he uses the matrix shown here. What principle of information security does this matrix most directly help enforce? So here are the tasks or roles. Okay, as you can see here, okay, security, these are the roles: security administrator, budget analyst. Let's use some roles and verify. This guy is verifying the batches. So here are the roles and here are the tasks. Who is verifying the batches? So this person is verifying the batches. Okay, the verify batches is given to this user. So this is an example of what? Example of segregation or separation of duties. So we separated the duties here. Here are the roles and here are the tasks. Now the dual control, two-person control, the practice of having more than one subject, more than one subject. These are the subjects. User 1, user, let's take 2 users for examples, or key required to complete a specific task. So in this example, there is one task. It's not similar to the separation of duties. We have broken the processes into different tasks, and each single user is having one task. But here in dual control, there is one task, and 2 people or more than 2, okay, are completing this task. So here, missile launch facility implement the concept of two-person controls. If they want, these 2 people are accomplishing the task. So they are pressing the button here. Okay. If one person is doing this, so the missile will not launch. Here is another example of the checks that require 2 signatures. Okay. An example of two-person control or dual control. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope these lectures or this lesson is informative for you.